Hello warriors. Last week we did discuss about tofacitinib, a promising new therapy for ankylosing spondylitis. For those of you who have missed out on that video, do have a look at this video. I had a lot of questions from all of you about this video. Today, let us discuss a few of those questions. Let us see what investigations are required prior to starting tofacitinib and while being on tofacitinib. And lastly, one of the most important things, let us discuss the potential side effects of tofacitinib therapy. Let's have a look. The few questions that I got on my previous tofacitinib video. One, is tofacitinib an OTC drug? By OTC we mean over-the-counter drug. I saw this video, I want to start tofacitinib. Can I get it in a medical shop? No, this is definitely not an over-the-counter drug. You need to see your rheumatologist. Rheumatologist will assess you and see if you really require this medicine, and if yes, he would give you a prescription and it would be available only with a valid medical prescription, and you should be taking it under supervision of a rheumatologist. Why is this required? Keep watching the video, you'll come to know. Second, I got a lot of questions as to whether it can improve hip pain, in particular osteoarthritis of the hip. Secondly, can it reduce the deformity of the spine, or can it reduce the stooping posture that is associated with ankylosing spondylitis? We need to understand a few things to understand the final answer to these two questions. One, as far as the hip pain is concerned, hip pain in ankylosing spondylitis can be because of one, inflammation of the hip, and second, inflammation causing damage, that is osteoarthritis of the hip. One, it can be purely inflammation. Second, it can be only damage, that is osteoarthritis. Or thirdly, it could be a combination of inflammation as well as damage, that is osteoarthritis. In a similar fashion, the deformity of the spine or stooping posture can be due to inflammation of the joints of the vertebrae with consequent spasm of the overlying muscles. Or secondly, it could be because of long-term damage, that is fusion. One can have only inflammation, or inflammation and fusion, or only fusion with hardly any inflammation. This is what will determine whether tofacitinib will be useful in these cases. Let's look at an analogy to understand this better. You can see this house is on fire. Fire is akin to inflammation. The joints are literally burning because of inflammation. As you can see here, the fire brigade is extinguishing the fire with water. If the fire brigade reaches in time and water is available in time, the fire can be extinguished completely without any damage. That is, if we talk in terms of ankylosing spondylitis, the inflammation with timely treatment with DMARDs or biologics, the inflammation can be controlled completely, can go into remission. However, if the fire brigade reaches late or water is not available in time, the fire can still be extinguished, but it would lead to some residual damage. In the same fashion, if ankylosing spondylitis inflammation is not controlled in time, it would lead to some residual damage, which is osteoarthritis or deformity. Now, in which case is tofacitinib useful? Tofacitinib can take care of the fire or the inflammation. So, somebody with active ankylosing spondylitis, active inflammation, tofacitinib would be useful. Somebody with pure damage or predominant damage, that is osteoarthritis or fusion of the spine, tofacitinib may not be that useful. And this is what we do as rheumatologists. When we see an AS warrior, we assess the level of inflammation, the level of damage, and then decide the treatment accordingly. Biologics, tofacitinib will be useful when inflammation is active. They will not be useful when osteoarthritis or fusion are the predominant components. Now let us look at the other domains of ankylosing spondylitis. Is tofacitinib useful in the other domains of ankylosing spondylitis? We have already looked at the axial component, the axial domain, that is the backache, the sacroiliac joint inflammation and the vertebral joint inflammation in the previous video and seen that tofacitinib is useful in axial inflammation. How about uveitis, dactylitis, enthesitis and involvement of the peripheral joints? Peripheral joints would mean involvement of the knee, ankle, hand joints. Frankly speaking, as of now, we would not be able to answer this question as we do not have sufficient data to answer this question. Over next few months or years, we would have more studies looking into this and we would be able to answer this question. But as of now, we do not have sufficient data to answer this. What a group of medicine does tofacitinib really belong? In the previous video, for simplicity's sake, we did call it as oral biologic. However, tofacitinib technically does not belong to the group of biologics. It is not a biologic, it is a targeted synthetic DMARD. We already know about our conventional synthetic DMARDs, that is methotrexate, sulfasalazine. These are called conventional synthetic DMARDs, while tofacitinib falls in the group of targeted synthetic DMARDs. Targeted because we know the exact target of tofacitinib as far as its mechanism of action is concerned. How about investigations? What investigations are required before somebody is started on tofacitinib? One, a complete blood count which includes hemoglobin, WBC count, platelet count, creatinine which is a kidney test, LFT which stands for liver function test, HIV, hepatitis B and hepatitis C tests, tests for TB, tuberculosis, TB gold, MAN2 test and an X-ray of the chest, particularly in the Indian context, and serum lipid levels which is the cholesterol levels. What tests are monitored when one is on tofacitinib? Complete blood count, as tofacitinib is known to cause a drop in hemoglobin, a drop in white blood cell counts. Creatinine, the kidney test. In general, tofacitinib is not known to cause any change in the kidney parameters. However, as a basic test, it is monitored on a regular basis. Liver function test. Tofacitinib is known to cause an increase in the liver enzymes, that is SGOT-PT, and hence it is regularly monitored. And lastly, serum lipids, because tofacitinib can cause an increase in the LDL cholesterol levels. How about the side effects of tofacitinib? Ankylosing spondylitis is an autoimmune arthritis. By autoimmune, we mean our own immunity starts attacking the joints, the sacroiliac joint, vertebral joints, and the other joints. So, the medications for ankylosing spondylitis, mainly the DMARDs, biologics, and tofacitinib, all of them act by suppressing the immunity. Once you suppress the immunity, the immune attack and the joint reduces, and hence the arthritis improves. The other side of the coin is this same immunity protects oneself from various infections. So whenever we think in terms of DMARDs or biologics or tofacitinib, as the immunity is suppressed, one is more prone to various infections. That's also the reason why the TB tests are done in advance prior to starting tofacitinib or other biologics. The most common infections with tofacitinib are respiratory tract infections, herpes or shingles, and reactivation of latent tuberculosis. So one has to take standard precautions to avoid infections, and this is something that holds true for any other biologic agent as well. In case of any infection, one should see the rheumatologist or the physician as early as possible for proper treatment. Higher doses of tofacitinib, higher dosage would mean 10 mg twice a day, can cause blood clots, especially in the lungs. This has been revealed by a post-marketing study conducted by Pfizer. Anyways, as far as rheumatoid arthritis or psoriatic arthritis, the approved dose is 5 mg twice a day, and even for ankylosing spondylitis, the dose that would be approved, I'm sure, would be 5 mg twice a day. Let us also learn some important data that has come out of oral surveillance. This is a post-marketing safety study conducted by Pfizer. It included patients with rheumatoid arthritis more than 50 years of age with minimum one cardiovascular risk factor. In these patients, what was seen was there were higher rates of malignancies and major cardiovascular events when compared to a TNF alpha blocker biologic. So, this is something that we should keep in mind for elderly patients and particularly in those with cardiovascular risk factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol. A TNF alpha blocker would be a better agent as compared to tofacitinib. Thank you all of you for joining me for this week's session of Stand for AS videos. Let us meet next week with another interesting video about ankylosing spondylitis. Thank you.